out. I'm E.
I'm D.
And today we're going to be discussing season 8, episode 2 of The Real Housewives of Potomac. I hope you guys watch episode 1. Robin centric. We had a lot of thoughts. Obviously, we're going to have 10 million more thoughts, this episode and the next. So, let's just get started.
Okay, so last episode for episode 1, I broke it down into sections. I didn't really like that. So I'm gonna give y'all a different kind of recap right now. Okay, let's get started. So of course, the episode started off with Robin discussing her intervention with Juan. They have both made it very clear that they do not care about the rumors or the way their relationship is perceived. Essentially, they're trying to give us, the audience, the understanding that they're just like above all of this and they don't really care. Elsewhere on the show, or really the main thing that happened was that Ashley introduced her new friend, Nneka, and this took place in Ashley's housewarming. Now, if you guys watched our preview of season 8, we mentioned the discussion around the new girl, which was Nneka Ihim, I believe is her last name, and how she was going to be introduced to the ladies of Potomac. So, Ashley's housewarming, which was a very shady mess. It was just, kind of like a way to get Nneka there to interact with the other ladies. And at first, Nneka does seem very friendly and she compliments the ladies as she greets them. She tells them they're beautiful. She loves their outfit, blah, blah, blah. However, we know from the previews, Nneka and Wendy eventually have beef. Ironically, she was set next to Wendy. So after Ashley introduced her, she proceeded to grab Wendy to have a talk privately. And if we know Ashley, it was going to be messy. So she told Wendy how Nneka essentially claimed Wendy was Osu, which Nneka did not, the bottom of the barrel of the Nigerian caste system. The Osu people are cursed. So before I continue a little bit more into all of that, what do we think about the fact that the show started once again with Robin and Juan?
Well, of course, this is going to be a predominant topic throughout this entire season. If we've watched The Housewives, they're gonna beat a dead horse. So they're gonna talk about Robin in the beginning of the show, the
Yep.
middle of the episode, and final thoughts in the episode. And we're gonna see it in every episode plus the reunion. So we're gonna see this for a few months and probably the next couple of seasons. I'm tired of Juan. I think the funniest thing to me, I don't know if it showed in this particular episode, is how Juan's alleged, mistress looks like Karen. That always cracks me up.
Oh my God, that
Like
drawing.
that drawing makes me laugh so much. And it's
It
just so crazy how much Karen has changed. I know, irrelevant, but how much she has changed from the Grand Dame. Like, oh, the cutlery goes in this particular fashion, and you
yeah.
shouldn't say this, to
Yeah.
the Karen that we have now.
Mm.
That's all wilding out. So mistresses apparently look like her. So that's what I like. Them being above it all, Robin and Juan, it's a lie. It's a front. Girl, I guess you have to keep up your lie at this point for the next 20 episodes.
Right. I don't know. Honestly, I really have very little to say about them at this point because it's pointless and it's like literally the same thing. Now, as far as Nneka being introduced to the ladies, just shade, mess, and chaos like usual. Um, I did kind of wonder though, like how they were friends. I think Ashley may have brought it up, but I don't know for certain. Um, and I found it ironic, given that we saw the preview, that they set her next to Wendy, and I was just kind of like, "That's interesting."
Yeah.
And then the very awkward high five that Wendy gave her when they were like, "Oh yeah, they're Nigerian. She's Nigerian." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, high five. Okay. All right, cool. And then of course, so I know how I mentioned that like Ashley told Wendy about the conversation with Nneka, but prior to that, when they were already seated alone, Wendy told her how she really wants to have a genuine relationship and friendship with Ashley. And it pissed me off because I'm like, oh, we knew where this was going. So let me get into this whole little thing. Wendy did inform Ashley that she and her family are not Osu and that the blog slash Nneka are wrong. Wendy is still trying very hard to be accepted by these ladies. So like I mentioned, prior to the mess that Ashley started, Wendy did tell her she wanted to have a real friendship with Ashley where she wouldn't be concerned about her stabbing her in the back. So we talked about this, I believe, when we did our season 7 recap. And we just couldn't understand why Wendy's trying so hard to be accepted by these women,
Mhm.
considering the fact that they, in my opinion, mistreat her. So I don't know, like, I didn't really care for that because it's like every time I think Ashley might be turning a new leaf, I just get proven wrong.
Ashley's gonna Ashley. She is the same Ashley that went to that Miami event or whatever, I don't know, outing that they had. She was
Yeah.
breastfeeding. I keep bringing it up because I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
She dropped some bombs and be like, I gotta head out. What does SpongeBob say? I gotta go.
I'm out.
I gotta see my way out. And just left them all bickering and hating each other. And she just left unscathed. So Ashley gonna Ashley. And I can see Candace's frustrations with that.
Yeah.
With Wendy, I think she wants to be Ashley's friend, probably because Ashley was one of the people that actually stood up for her with
Yeah.
the whole Miami situation and be like, hey, you
Right.
can't ostracize this girl like this. And
Right.
I was actually really proud of her and of Ashley
Yes. Yeah.
their ground. And I think it was terrible the way they treated her.
Yeah.
So then Ashley 3 seconds later, acting immature, not knowing how to down a corona and like keep her mouth shut, stirs up the pot. Later on, we see that she was like, oh, maybe, I was being a little extra. Maybe I heard some things. And she tried to correct herself, but now I'm like, now I don't trust you. Um,
Yeah.
that's weird. I don't know.
It was very strange. It's like I said, every time I want to believe, I
Yeah.
just get proven wrong. But it's not right that Ashley's going to Ashley and she just continues to get. It's the same thing we've been saying about how Giselle is going to not talk about her life and we just keep letting it happen.
Mhm.
Like that's not what these people are getting paid to do. And it's frustrating that like um she kind of feels like she's really just there to stir the pot, and they've accused her of that before, to just
Mhm.
stir the pot and just kind of like let bombs go off like it's all good. And meanwhile we know very little about what her situation is with Michael because she hasn't really talked about it other than the one example she gave. Oh, we're splitting up because I don't want to live the same lifestyle. Something feels like there's more to it and she's not really talking about it.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if later we learn other things. We also did find out that Candace is being sued by Michael, but Ashley says she knows nothing about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seems weird.
I
So
also think that I don't know why Wendy wants to be friends with Ashley. I mean, just besides, what I just mentioned
yeah.
about defending her. But I wonder, I'm sure they know that Nneka was going to come to the show,
Hmm.
right? So, and she's introduced as Ashley's friend. I don't know how they know each other, whatever.
Right.
Because I don't know how Ashley's running in Nneka's circle, but
Right.
I mean, I don't know, whatever. I would have been like, hey, what's up? Like, why are you bringing my enemy here? Like, we could have started off like that, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know. It's just something. And then unrelated, I don't understand why Candace and Ashley hate each other so much because Ashley was the one who brought Candace to the show.
That's so true.
I'm like, I don't
Oh, I
understand.
forgot about that. I just think that like Candace wants Ashley to be one particular way. She keeps getting burned, and I think it's pissing her off. Meanwhile, Ashley don't really care about the way Candace is. She'll, play along with her
Yeah.
until it gets to a point that like you can't, right? So, later on in the show we did see, that like I mentioned earlier, that Nneka and Wendy were seated together. It was really awkward, the way that they kind of interacted because they acted like they had never met before.
Hmm.
um and then, like I said, they high-fived about, being Nigerian, and like obviously the other ladies were there for any possible messiness that could come, but we did learn that they actually did know of one another and had met before. So it was just like really weird. Um which, obviously we'll see later on in the season about all of that. But another really awkward encounter was the one between Mia and Karen, who would only shake Mia's hand instead of hugging her when Mia went in for the hug. This is, of course, due to the mess that Mia, started against Karen prior to the season ending, season 7 ending. Mia did apologize and told Karen she wouldn't speak on rumors about her again. Karen still doesn't trust Mia, but she'll put her in the same camp as Giselle, which, is basically frenemies at this point. And so like we did see that they had, like this little like convo going on. I believe it was by some kind of water, whatever. Were they by the Jefferson Memorial, or maybe I'm not sure. They were somewhere in DC. I think that's where they were. Um, and so then later on at the housewarming, Karen still only shakes her hand. Like,
I'm here for it.
of
You
course
know
you
what?
are. Of course.
You treated me bad, you're on punishment. All right. So, we got to start small. I'll be like, hey, you would have gotten one of these. And then
Right.
we gradually work to a handshake and maybe one of them fake hugs, like,
Not the fake hug.
you know. But, Karen, when she's not having her outburst about random stuff,
Hmm.
she does seem to act her age, triple 20, and
Ooh,
be
ooh.
like older, like,
Yeah.
mature.
Right.
Uh, that's the way I meant it, guys. I'm not eight. And like she tells, she does have these conversations with people and be like, hey, it's not right. Let's move forward. I got to put you in this bound. We have boundaries now, and I really don't see other people do that. And Karen has followed through with it as well. It's not
Yeah.
like, hey, let's be cool. And then 2 minutes later, we're arguing again. It's like,
Right.
hey, Karen knows I keep this girl, here in the bottom shelf of the refrigerator. You'll in the season, Robin's in the freezer. So, she knows who she's dealing with. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, like
I'm up here. I love the antics.
I honestly I agree with you. I commend Karen for in some ways keeping it real, because it's not that easy to just get over, somebody shading you or somebody speaking like gossip about you, especially in a way that could harm your marriage,
Yeah.
right? Because that was that whole situation. So I do commend her for that. And I think that Mia, this might be her season of humbling, because she's being humbled every which way, and it's kind of like you gotta take it right now, like you put yourself in a position to be where you're at right now, and you got to deal with it. And like Mia could think all she wants about herself, but Karen Huger is the grand dame of Potomac, and that ain't gonna change. No way, no how. She is a staple of Potomac. Mia no longer lives in Potomac. Whew. But
He is. Can't argue with that.
so noticeably absent from the housewarming, which we'll go into a little detail later, was Candace. Duh. Um, Ashley did not invite Candace to her housewarming. Candace had actually told Ashley through a text message before the season started that she did not want Ashley reaching out to her at all. So, like I mentioned before, Ashley never really cares about Candace acting every which way. She'll still interact with her. Even when she was talking bad about Michael, she would still interact with her and party with her. But this, I guess, must have been the last straw. Her telling her directly, do not contact me ever, made Ashley not contact her at all. So we learned that Candace is also trying to get signed by a major label now. She's fully focused on her music career and wants to work on her upcoming tour. There was a shady moment where she didn't want another Real Housewife of Atlanta cast member to open up for her or perform with her because, as she said, she doesn't need anybody to put butts in seats. Yeah. Well, the lady, Drew Sidora, I believe is her name, the other
Mhm.
housewife, had responded via her social media, basically saying, "Why am I put in this mess?" Like, I don't know. What do we think about Candace?
Um, hmm. Do you really want to know?
Ma'am, I'm not asking you to not know.
She needs to give up this music career. I don't think it's really working for her. I think she could do it as a hobby. She could do it at these little lounges. I don't think she's gonna be a big star. Even though I was surprised that Trina, I know this sounds so bad, that Trina was featured in, her album of albums. Like I think it was one album and then she redid the album and
Yeah.
I don't understand that. So didn't the album flop? So you're gonna redo that same album again?
Oh, dang. Oh,
I'm
man.
just saying. I don't know. I just feel like it's not working, or she doesn't have the right people
Yeah.
like pushing this along, and she should stick with Housewives.
Well, that's why she
You know,
wants to be a major label now. She wants to get involved with a major label.
I mean, I suppose. I mean, I guess if it happened for Cardi B, it could happen for her. But Cardi had a little talent. I mean, I guess Candace has a little talent. I don't know.
Candace can sing. She's got a good voice.
And but it's a regular voice. It's not anything outstanding.
Okay. Well, right. Alrighty then. So, um,
You have to say something. You can't leave me to be the villain.
no, I'm going to give me a second to process. You
Mhm.
said a lot. So I think that like Candace, she's been consistent and this is what she wants to do, her music career. We've seen the other ladies coming with all the business ventures, which we'll talk about later, Wendy.
Wendy.
Um, but but she's been consistent. This is what she wants to do. This is her craft. And
Yeah.
so I commend her for dedicating her time for that, to all of that. And I know that like this season seems to be more about her focus on her music career and everything. And I think it was unnecessary for her to be shady towards the other, Housewife of Atlanta cast member because it's like, ma'am, at least, somebody came and, worked with you. Like, that's
Mhm.
nice. But according to the blogs, and I hate to even say that, apparently her tour that she did was just like, or is currently on, or the one she was trying to focus on, is a winery lounge tour, something like that.
That 5 city tour was at a lounge?
Well, the one that she was talking about getting prepared for is something like that.
Huh?
Um, that she's currently on right now. So of
Okay.
course, it's after the season ended. For them as far as filming, it's like a 9/11 city winery tour. I think is what it's called, or something like that. City.
So
I don't.
in
I think it's
essence, I was correct. It's a
not.
loungy, whiny thing.
I mean, seemingly, according to the blogs, I cannot, fully co-sign because I have not
Yeah.
looked into it fully, but that is what they're saying that she just did some kind of, small tour bankrolled by her mother. I don't know. She did
Or
mention in
she?
she did mention in episode 1 that she spent, Candace herself, she didn't say her mother, 6 figures on
Mhm.
that last tour that she did. So I didn't know that artists spent their own money to go on tour. I thought that's where they
Mhm.
made the money. So I was very
Maybe he's
confused by
not
that.
in a major label and they're not fronting it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe. But do I think she needs to stop? No. If this is what she wants to
Yeah,
do.
I take it back. I know it was really hard. We all have to start somewhere, and she is talented.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
being Gazelle self. I was being shady, okay? I
Not
didn't mean
relatively shady, fully shady. Full blown shady.
to fall. You don't need to tell me, okay? I know my faults. I was like, damn, that was harsh. Okay. And follow your dreams. I would
Yeah.
want somebody to tell me to follow my dreams.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like if she feels this is something that she's so passionate about and that she believes she can be successful at, like, more power to her. Like, why not? But also be mindful of like the people that you put down in the process. Cause
Yeah.
like I didn't really care for that comment about the lady. I
Mhm.
don't even know that lady, but it's like still, it's just a little bit weird.
You know,
Um,
I have to say, I don't like when people do those kinds of things. Like, it really rocks my nerves when, you need people's help,
yeah,
right? And they help you get, the status or, somewhere where you want to be. And then all
yeah,
of a sudden, you pretend like you got there by yourself, or
yeah,
you don't need their help now, or, you know, minimizing the help that they provided. I hate stuff like that. Not that
yeah,
you should be, thanking them 10 million times,
right,
but now you're not too big to know where you came from and who helped you. And you don't need to minimize what they did for you, or like, talk shit about them. Because in
yeah,
essence, he's like, oh, I don't need Drew anymore because, I can fill the seats now. So that
yeah,
means you couldn't fill the seats then. So you needed her then.
right,
So that's messed up that you said something like that. I don't like when people do that. So I
yeah.
think she needs some humbling as well. Mia's
Oh,
getting hers, and I think she should get hers too.
dang. Well, it might happen. You never know. But I agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree. It's not a good look, Like at the end of the day, it's not. You want people to want to come and see you. But here's the thing that like I feel sometimes people don't understand, especially for these like housewives or the people that do reality shows and then they try to do music or they try to do acting.
Yeah.
Fans may like your show, but they may not like you. And
Hmm.
so just because you're on this popular show, and we know Potomac is one of the most popular housewife franchises,
Yeah.
just because you're on that popular show doesn't mean people are going to want to watch you. Doesn't mean they're going to want to spend their money on you because they can for free watch you and your mess and all that stuff. You get me? So
Hmm.
it's like know your place in essence as far as like you're not somebody who is like grinding out there like all of these artists that are trying to like start off. She comes from a place of wealth, she comes from a place of privilege, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing for her. But we are all, as viewers of the show, watching her from a very early point in her musical career and the trajectory that she's been on, and we can appreciate that. But then we turn around and we see you being really nasty towards other people, and also kind of like having just these really messed up interactions with some of the other cast members, or in this particular case, saying something bad about the other housewife who, like, she did you a favor, because I don't know that if it was your tour and this person came to do something with you, she did the favor. Whether she got paid for it or not, she still did a favor. And
Hmm.
to not be appreciative of that, I feel it's just like wrong on many levels. It's like just be I don't know. I feel like I'd just be grateful at the end of the day if somebody would help me out in any kind of way. So
You
that was
know,
something I didn't care for.
yeah. I mean, obviously, we saw Beyonce's Renaissance film. Who was there? Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
So, Candace, food for thought.
Whew, girl. Alrighty. So Back to the housewarming party that Candace was not invited to. Um, we learn about Ashley's boob job, Demi, and Diamond. um, of course, she was very proud to show them off. She also showed off her house, to all the ladies, and she commented that her decorating the home was inspired by doing the opposite of the decor that Michael had in his penthouse. She wanted it to look light and airy and just happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, of course, to add to the usual Ashley messiness, she had also invited Deborah. What did they call her? Sesame
Sesame
Street?
Street.
Yeah. Now if some of you guys know, Deborah is the friend that during last season made comments about both Chris Bassett, Candace's husband, and Eddie Osefa, Wendy's husband, who she dubbed Happy Eddie. Wendy was not thrilled to see her there, but she kept it cool. And it's very interesting considering we were talking about earlier that Wendy wants to have this friendship with her. And then how you said, she like possible nemesis or whatever. But she also invited this woman who, like, we know has a documented history of like saying something about Wendy's husband. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that was kind of right.
Well, that's a little tricky, right? Because Nneka is a brand new housewife. So
Okay.
she's new to the crew. The
Okay.
Sesame Street, or whatever her name, what is it, Deborah?
Deborah.
Deborah, I'm not going to call her Elmo or whatever. Deborah seems to be like a longtime friend of Ashley's. So, I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah, you're right.
we need to film the show, but I mean, I'm not going to exclude my friend.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's just a conflict of interest. It got to work. But Nneka, she's a brand new friend. She could have, you know.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, speaking of Wendy, we're gonna go ahead and end everything here with once again, Miss Wendy. Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Wendy Osefo has a new business venture. This time, she wants to do a talk show, y'all. So it's going to be part politics, part ratchet. She doesn't have a title for the show, but she went to look at studio spaces to record the show. Every season it seems like she seems to have a new business venture. And this particular talk show, as she explained to the ladies at the table during Ashley's housewarming, might go over some of their heads because you have to be at a certain intellect. And Wendy, well, actually Mia, for whatever reason, decided to holler out something. And Wendy let her know that she was not at the intellect level to comprehend.
When Wendy dissed Mia, what did she say? She was not that she was dense, but it was
Oh,
no,
you're
she didn't
too
use
slow.
no, she didn't use the word slow, did she?
Yeah. Yeah, she said you're too slow.
Well, she said it with ganas. Ganas, guys, for those who don't speak Spanish,
She meant it.
she meant that. It came from her
Yeah.
sternum, like the insides of the insides. Like like my soul hurt. She said it, and I was like, "Ow!" Like I had to pause, and I'm like, "Did I just hear her, girl?" I feel like it wasn't slow. I feel like it was something.
I'm gonna actually look it up right now just for you.
Yeah,
Um, because the reason I think it is that,
yeah,
um, because the next episode, Mia has a discussion with Karen about it.
yeah.
And so that becomes like a whole thing. So okay, so she said something along the lines of, let's see here. See. Um of course it takes forever
Like
to
it was
find
like a kind of. Oh, she says because you're slow, I can't uplift you.
it. Yeah, and
You're
then Mia
too low
responds,
down.
"You can't talk about women's empowerment when the moment you get a chance to beat someone down, you beat them down. Why not uplift me, Wendy?" And Wendy says, "Because you're slow, I can't uplift you. You're too low down."
Tell me that doesn't hurt your whole life. When she says you're
Yeah.
too low down, I was like, Her and Candace, wow,
Woo. Yeah, they
their
can
mouth is
definitely.
lethal.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I gotta admit, I love those little smart remarks,
Of course
but
you do.
these are things that I think I don't say.
Yeah.
And that hurt my whole soul. And you see like Mia's life drain away and the rest of the housewives. Like that
Yeah.
is so embarrassing. And I
Yeah.
can't believe somebody, let's say like Wendy, let's say all educated, can
Mhm.
belittle someone like that. Just because you're thinking it, don't mean you gotta say it, girl. And say it in that way. It's not like you're saying, "Oh, you're so dumb."
Yeah.
Mean, but you're too low down. I can't uplift you. Like that's that's
Yeah.
like intelligently dissing me, which I think is 10 times worse than regularly dissing me.
Yeah. I think man, it it frustrates me because I love the fact that both Wendy and Candace are very intelligent women, and they have these intellectual dialogues, and I appreciate that. Um because you don't really see that often represented by minority women on television. So it frustrates me when then we get to the point of we say things that are just very very nasty, and in this particular case, yeah, you're right, she very intellectually dissed the crap out of Mia, but that's still hurtful, it's like, I'm not saying Mia
Oh,
didn't
that's
deserve
like 10
something.
times worse.
Yeah,
Like
no, definitely.
dissing me.
Definitely. And like that's what I'm thinking, that like I for Mia can be a lot of things or whatnot, but it's like to kind of insult her intellect, I feel like is uncalled for.
Mhm.
Um and unnecessary. Like you wanna, basically say like you ain't gonna get it, just say that. You ain't gonna get it. But to really like make it that kind of way, like so direct, you're too slow, like that's that could be like a trigger thing for some people, and we'll learn in episode 3 why that
Mhm.
was kind of a trigger for Mia. um but yeah, and then but then on the flip side of things, who I've had those moments where it's like I feel that I try to uplift, I try to be about women empowerment, but I have moments where I'm like, I don't know if I can uplift you, and then I'm just kind of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I shouldn't have done that, because of, I believe in, empowered women empower women, but sometimes it is hard to really do that with certain women who kind of like, you know, do things that may be upsetting, or do things that are go against what you may be thinking, or are not good for you in general. And in this particular case, like she's had these different, issues with Mia. And I don't know. I don't know. It kind of frustrates me, like on both sides of things,
Mm.
honestly. Yeah.
Sometimes I think that I'm thinking of Potomac in this instance. Sometimes like they're bickering, their arguments, it could almost be a little childish,
Yeah.
arguing, bickering, whatever, whatever. But I feel like Candace and Wendy take it to a whole other level. Like if we
Yeah.
compare her to Giselle, Giselle is very dismissive. She didn't want to hug somebody. She beats a dead horse. I guess that's my saying for this season about
Yeah.
certain things. And she might even say some things a little sideways.
Yeah.
But Wendy, I feel like Wendy and Candace are there to cut,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
That's very true.
and cut.
But let's not forget, Robin Dixon has had her moments where she's also been like, I feel like a lot of the time she'll get annoyed, whatever, she'll just brush people off. But when she gets pissed off, she's been pretty nasty herself. And she has actually done some things where I'm just like, dang girl, like, I think it was last season early on, actually against Wendy. When like she stood up and was like kind of about to be in Wendy's face. She didn't touch her, nothing like that, because that was a whole nother point of contention during
Mhm.
that whole little scene. But she also got really like nasty with Wendy, and I was like, dang, like,
That's in a
okay,
sense. I can see that. But
yeah, she's
her
had,
behavior is childish.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I don't know.
And I don't know, maybe I think I can't take Robin seriously, to be honest. If she's mad at me, I'll be like, who the hell cares? Girl, you got enough going on. You're not gonna fight me.
Stop.
You're dissing me, girl, you're dissing yourself. It's not that serious. Wendy or Candace dissing me, I'll be like, bruh, like, I think
That
I'm gonna be in bed for a while. Like, what?
yeah,
I feel like I have to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. Like, have my comebacks ready
yeah,
for Wendy and Candace, and I have to make sure that they cut as deep if I'm gonna stoop down to their level.
you're right. Yeah, you're right. I
Like,
don't
they're
know
using the people to hurt them and then hurt
though.
them
Yeah,
bad.
right. I don't know. You know who I think is going to kind of be on their level though? Nneka.
I don't know. She says words like cocky for cocktails. I'll see. I don't, she
She's
calls it.
a very educated woman herself. Like she can do some, I feel like she could do some intellectual witty comebacks and they can
I
probably
mean,
cut me too.
what I've seen so far, I can't take her seriously.
All right. Well, that was it on the recap for episode 2 of season 8 of Real Housewives of Potomac. I don't know, y'all. Other than this is a mess, it's always a mess. That's literally why we're here, because it's all a mess.
Guys, let us know what you think about, the new introduction of a new housewife, Nneka. What have we heard? What do we think about the beef that she has with Wendy or she's about to have with Wendy? Or how do we see it developing? What do we
Right.
think about Ashley being a friend or, or like,
Yeah.
Giselle, it wasn't a Giselle kind of episode.
She was in the background.
You see? And
Yes.
Karen was too. Not much
Yeah.
about Karen.
Well, actually, there was one little point about how her and Sharice showed up almost twinning, but that was it.
Her friend of me there.
Her
But
other,
let us know what you think about this episode. We're interested to know.
yeah.
If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're happy to report that we have over 1,000 subscribers. You
Oh
guys
my
know this. We knew this all along.
God.
So thank you for sharing our videos. Please continue sharing. Your friends could be our friends. We could all be friends. We also
Yeah.
have social media, which Steve will tell you about.
We're on Instagram and TikTok at Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys also follow us on socials. Like, share, comment on all the content. We actually enjoy interacting with you guys.
All right, guys, we'll see you on episode 3 of The Real
Yeah.
Housewives of Potomac. Peace.
Bye.